Hey guys, Clement here, real estate broker at Remax, and today I want to talk about the new announcement of the Bill 60. This is a major one, particularly for landlords, but if you are a tenant and investor, this is also really good for you to have good information about, because in this video, really what I want to do, I'm going to talk about this Bill 60 and I'm going to really explain it in detail so that you are in a position to know what these major changes are going to do. If you are a landlord, I would suggest get this together and even send it to your tenant to let them know all of the new rules, because I know a lot of tenants don't really pay attention of this. You are a landlord, so that's why you're watching this. So I would advise you to really put this together and send it to your tenant, because there's really four major changes with this Bill 60 that I'm going to cover, and I'm going to give some more detail. I'll put in some experience with it as well, just to give you some good understanding of it. And these four major changes are going to speed up. They're going to speed up the eviction time. They're also going to tighten up the rules. I'll say they'll tighten up all the rules with late payments. And this is a huge one, guys. It's going to tighten up all this late payments, and also this another one, it's going to change how tenants can defend themselves. So it's important to know all these rules that are coming up, and I know a lot of landlords are excited about this, so it's good to know how to actually use these rules, because as much as tenants take advantage of this, there's some landlords out there that try to take advantage of tenants, and it's very important to understand the rules behind this so that we all just make the market a lot better and a lot more trustworthy, per se, if we can do that. So let's look at the first one. So the first one here is faster evictions for non-payment. So evictions for non-payments will now move a lot faster, because the shorter notice periods means landlords can now file a lot sooner. So guys, to just explain this used to take about 6 months, sometimes 8, even all the way till 12 months to get this done. Once a tenant has filed a complaint, has filed something, and this will usually cost thousands. It will cost landlords thousands of dollars, because by the time a tenant has filed a case, and let's say they owe $4,000, let's just as an example, $4,000. By the time it gets to 8 months or 12 months, it's going to be in and around that $10,000 to $12,000. That it has cost the landlord, because what's going on around this time, the tenant is not paying rent. And there's a lot of tenants who try and do this. I call them professional tenants, where they move from one place to the other place. And landlords, if you're not vetting your tenants very well, you end up in these cases for the most part. Then we have here, quicker hearing timelines means decisions happen a lot faster. So if we can get these decisions going on really quick, it will take away this time period. And this time period is the biggest cause that landlords are facing when you have a tenant that's not complying and that's not communicating, that's not really trying to communicate with you and do the right thing. So when decisions happen faster, at least at that point, you're able to get rid of and move on to the next. So when this happens, there'll be a less backlog of the LTB, at least in theory. I said this at least in theory because if you look at it, it will come from here to this. So if there's shorter notice time, it will mean that the decisions happen a lot faster. In theory, that will mean there'll be less backlog. With less backlog, again, there'll be less time. So it's almost like a circle that goes round and round. So the LTB is, for those who don't know, this is the landlord and tenant board. So that's what LTB stands for. So this is almost like it's just a circle that goes round and round, which would help a lot. So this is a good major change. The impact behind this for landlords is there'll be more renting there'll be more confidence in renting units today, and because I do have clients who have enough equity in their property, but they just don't have the confidence in the market. This is where a lot of clients want to get a property manager. And for some of them, they've asked me to do it, but sometimes I even do it because as a package for certain clients. Because if you have one property, 2 units that you're renting, a property manager is not really necessary. You just need somebody who's going to really take care of the unit. You probably want to spend more time on vetting the tenant. Don't rush into finding a tenant because obviously you want your mortgage paid. Take your time in finding the right tenant because it will save you a lot more than getting somebody in there quick. So there'll be less financial bleeding. This is a huge one, obviously, because if your tenant is paying on time, that's always good. Let's say you have your mortgage. I won't even go too. Let's say your mortgage is $4,000 because this is really where we are in 2025, and you have a tenant downtown. It's a condo which is $3,000. So this is a difference of $1,000 coming out of your pocket already. So if you have a tenant that's not paying, that's a full $4,000 coming out of your market every month. Then you go and file a case. You want to evict the tenant and you cannot, and that just keeps accumulating as time goes by, and that is not good. So there's less financial bleeding, I would say. Then when we look at the ability to manage cash flow better. With investing, the ability to predict is everything. That's everything. So if you can predict the financial amount that's coming in, even with this example, even though what's coming out of your pocket is $1,000, at least you can plan for it because the predictability is there. You can see it. Now, if you have a tenant that's not paying on time all the time, it affects that pattern. It affects your ability to predict what's going on. So this ability to manage cash flow better helps a lot of landlords today. So that's one of the impacts that's going to happen. And now for tenants, if you're watching this, missing rent has more immediate consequence, 100%, because now there's less time to file. Decisions are happening a lot faster. There's less backlog, as I've showed you before. So now there's more responsibility for you to make sure you're paying your rent on time. If your landlord actually files to evict you, that can happen a lot quicker. And it's going to be very hard for you to move to another rental unit because you'll have a really bad story because you don't have good references that you can actually use. And I know a lot of people usually con this stuff. So vetting is very important. So less room for chronic delinquency. So this is if a tenant is has the pattern of not meeting the financial duties or a financial obligation. So that creates that chronic delinquency. So it's going to eliminate that from a lot of tenants, which is a huge positive thing. So number 2, the second thing, strict, persistent late payment rules. I just love this one a lot because landlords can actually evict tenants who are chronically late. On this point, actually, if you are a landlord, you at least need to be tracking this, because how you're going to get this, you're going to see this chronically late payment is by tracking it. So if your tenant misses rent, even for a day, 2 days, if you're tracking it, just put it somewhere, just note it. And for a lot of tenants who are watching this, you have the ability to just reach out to the landlord, because a lot of landlords understand what's going on in the market, what's going on with inflation and what's happening in the economy here in Canada. So if you just communicate with your landlord and you just say to the landlord, like, is it okay if I'm able to pay my rent up until the 15th or pay on the 10th, whatever works for you. If you communicate with the landlord, that's still good. But as a landlord, I would 100% say, make sure you're tracking this and make sure you're keeping it on record. Either you have it on Excel or you have it on Google Sheets, however you want to track it. There's so many tools that you can use out there to track this. So make sure you're doing that. Even on the tenants, you should probably do that as well. So tenants will be forced to maintain consistent payment discipline. which is a good thing. I would always, this is just an extra you could do. Just kind of have your tenant kind of check off and say like, okay, they've checked off this month, they've paid the rent in time. Anytime they don't pay the rent in time, and this is another thing, make sure it's documented. Don't let your tenants just ask for requests without you keeping a record of it. So it's very important to make sure you have that record. Don't let the tenant just give you a call and ask you, can we just extend the time to pay the rent, and you're not recording it. It's very important to have this recorded somewhere. So let's look at, so the tenants must give advance notice for complaints. So this is I believe this is number 3. So tenants must give advance notice of complaints. This is a major shift here, because tenants can no longer walk into the hearing and surprise landlords with last minute maintenance complaints. This used to happen a lot. So you can't have complained about the window, then last minute you come and start complaining about this mold in the basement and it's making me not breathe very well. So I'm just using that because I dealt with that recently, and it's a very common one. So you can't just surprise that. So that's a major shift that is going to help the market as well. So under the new rules, tenants must provide evidence and advance notice of any complaints that they're planning to raise. This is incredible, and I'll explain to you why. Because if a tenant wants to complain about, I'll use the same example, molding in the basement or molding in the bathroom, wherever the molding is, the tenant will have to notify the landlord that they have set issue. So you can't just go straight and surprise the landlord with a case that I've set us with a case to the LTB and just say that we have this case going on, and the landlord is just surprised by it. So you notify the landlord, and you also notify the landlord that you're going to file a case. That time period could be 30 days, could be 60 days, however you see fit, because you'll have already told the landlord that there's an issue, and if the landlord has not fixed it, you'll also notify the landlord that you're going to file a complaint about this. So this is a major change that's going to help a lot of people, because these surprises are just not good in the market. And so many landlords just don't know how to deal with it. So the fourth one here, which is just beautiful, tenants must pay 50% of arrears before raising any certain defenses. So for landlords, this is more for protection, repeat offenders. So a lot of repeat offenders, a lot of tenants do this on a regular basis, particularly those tenants who are just, I call them professional tenants. They use this very well, So more serious hearings, reduce financial risk. And let me just give you an example of what I mean by this here. So sometimes you could find a tenant who owes $4,000 in late rental payment. They will file a certain defense, and they would want to let it stay for around 6 months, as this keeps on accumulating, and which could go up, as I mentioned, up to $8,000 really. So right now, what they're changing is, before you can file any complaint, you have to pay half of this. So they'll have to pay $2,000 of the late arrears, the late payments that they have, whatever the cause is, they have to pay half of it before they can file. So which protects the landlord, so that at least the tenant now has more skin in the game, where they have to make sure, okay, you're filing for a more serious reason, and you're not just out there trying to extend the time to just take advantage of free rent type of thing. And it's just crazy. I don't know why they didn't change this a lot earlier. So for tenants, they must show good faith, as I just mentioned, normal raising defenses without paying a significant portion of arrears. So this is what I'm just saying. They have to pay a significant portion of what they owe before you can file a complaint. Then what does this mean for the GTA rental market? So landlords will feel safer renting for units, which is a good thing. More people may consider becoming landlords again. A lot of homeowners today want to come into the market, but they just feel like the rules don't support landlords. They support a lot of the tenants, and the landlords just don't know what to do. They don't have much to do, so they just choose not to do it, even though they have the ability to do it. I have clients who have the ability to do it, but they just don't want to deal with the chaos that's going on. So investors may re-enter the market. This could slightly improve rental supply. I mean, in the market that we're in today in 2025, there's a lot of supply, so that's not even an issue. But as time goes by and these changes happen, it's going to really help the market. So we could get more buyers coming into the market, get more investors coming into the market because they feel there's a sense of protection there. So that's a good thing. So the chronic late payers will face real consequences. That's a major thing. So once they know these consequences, that's good. This is why I advise you to send these new changes to your tenant. So hearing times may finally improve. Once this improves, a more efficient LTB benefits the entire market. This will benefit both the tenant and the landlord once this board improves, because it covers everything all across the board, and people will know what they're getting themselves into before they start doing all these complaints, before a landlord takes advantage of a tenant, and before a tenant takes advantage of the landlord. At least we know those are going to be covered. Then tenants with consistent payment habits won't be affected. So for all those tenants who are watching this, that you're a good tenant, you don't even have to worry. Once you get that paying from your landlord, there's a new change, you're good. This is more to get those tenants who are what we call professional tenants, to take advantage of the market. So this is more so for them. So I think it's a major thing, and that's it for now. So if you have any questions, you want to discuss this a little bit further, there's two things. You could either scan this QR code here. You'll be able to get to me immediately, and you can watch all the other videos. Subscribe here and you'll have more details or more information on what you might need, or just hit this description underneath this video. And I have a seller guide, I have a buyer guide, depending on where you are, the steps to sell as well. And I also have a link in there where you can set up a time to have a conversation with me if that is what you need. And we'll see if you and I working together makes sense. But that's it for now. Until next time, see you in the next video. Thank you.